Hey guys, Ian here with Redline. I have finally got our new 500 HWC heated wash cabinet into production. We've been working on this thing at Redline for about 3 years now. This is a giant industrial washer that we're adding to our product line. This thing is really geared towards folks that are washing things that are really big and heavy and nasty, like transmissions, engine blocks, things of that nature. We've been selling some washers like these things, very similar to this one, for years, that are made by some other suppliers out there. And we hadn't necessarily been completely happy with the longevity, the features, the parts availability, and so forth. So we have put our own washer into production. This thing is really heavy duty. It's built out of 0.1 inch thick mild steel. It's a powder coated finish. It runs off of 220 volt electricity through 2 heating units, elements that raise the temperature inside up to between 110 and 150 degrees Fahrenheit for washing really heavy duty stuff. This washer is really exciting as a new product for us at Redline, and it's loaded with features, so come on in and I'll show you some of them. This washer is mounted on 4 large casters so you can roll it around. One of the areas where I feel like we were really able to improve on our design over the competitions is in our parts tree. Everybody else's parts tree seems to be just completely welded up solid, whereas we made ours configurable. I'll start by showing you the basket with this unit. So we give you a basket with a lot of holes, perforated holes down there in the bottom, so you can wash small things like pins and springs, things of that nature that you don't want to lose down in the base of the washer. One of the things that's worth mentioning is the reason we put this extra pin right here on the parts tree is so that you can hang that basket, and it keeps the basket inward so that it won't sit there and spin around and bang against the washer. That's the purpose of that extra pin. Now, I said that our parts tree was configurable, so I pull out a little cotter pin here and I can start removing the various pieces of the parts tree and basically just set this thing up to operate however I need it. So this center support pole is also removable, and that might not seem like that big of a deal, but it is. If you're washing something like, let's say, an engine or a transmission, you may very well decide to use this to hold your casing upright. You can run this right through the center of the transmission, or right through where, let's say, the crankshaft or the camshaft of an engine would go, and this pole will hold your workpiece upright so it doesn't fall over inside the cabinet while you're washing it. Lastly, pull out this ring right here, and what you're left with is just a great big open turntable. Down here in the base of the machine, we give you another corrugated tray right here that catches small nuts and bolts, things of that nature, stops anything from getting inside and doing damage to your pump. While we're talking about the base of the machine, I just want to point out that the turntable, you can see, spins on 2 large greasable industrial bearings. While we're on the topic of the turntable, I just want to show you something. Have a look and notice that this entire turntable bolts in place with 4 large bolts. If you've got a situation where this turntable is not necessarily what you need, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from fabricating your own solution, completely removing the turntable, and then bolting it right up there to those 4 bolting mounting locations. I want to take this opportunity to point out that great care has been taken to make sure this unit does not leak in your shop. You might notice that there's a channel right down in here that catches fluid that comes off the door while the door is closed, and then there's also a little funnel right here that catches fluid while the door is open. Open up the key locked electrical box, and everything inside is nice and organized and simple. This is important because if there's ever a repair to make, like replacing a breaker, we want this to be quick and easy. Should you ever need to drain all the fluid out of the 500 HWC, you'll find a great big drain plug at the bottom of the washer. I went ahead and took off the cover on the back so you guys could see what lies underneath. We've got a great big 2 horsepower motor and all steel plumbing, no rubber boots or hoses to blow loose. Behind that, you'll find a cover right here that houses the little sensor for the thermostat. Over on the opposite side, we again find a little box that houses your heating elements. I told you wrong in the beginning of the video. That's actually 1 heating element that has 3 separate heating elements built into one. And then up top, we find the driver motor that runs and turns the turntable. Since we're looking at the inside of this cabinet, I want to take just a moment and give thanks where thanks is due and show you the type of revisions that we have made to this cabinet that you would never ever think about, but if you learned about it, you probably might be appreciative of it. I want to say thanks to Stuart at Stuart's Superior Transmission in Pensacola, Florida. Stuart served as our guinea pig for this program for the last 3 years. He would test our samples and come back and give us great revisions and feedback and tell us what was right and wrong with the cabinet. And I'll give you a fine example of what I mean by that. If you have a look at the inside of the cabinet right here, you'll notice that it's not painted or powder coated. There's no coating or anything. That's because Stuart came back to us and said, hey, Ian, stop coating these things on the inside. They don't need it. They don't rust. They don't have to be stainless steel because everything inside the cabinet just stays oily and greasy. But you're coating these things on the inside when it doesn't need it. And what's happening is eventually that coating falls off on the inside of the cabinet. It goes down into the base of the machine and clogs the motor up. So as a result, our production units today are not coated on the inside at all. That's just one of the many excellent examples of really quality feedback and revisions that Stuart gave us that ultimately make this a better product. So thank you to Stuart at Stuart Superior Transmission. One of the other excellent revisions that we've made to this unit that has us producing a better product than our competitors is that our turntable is not driven by gears. If you have a look down below into the base of the turntable, you'll notice that there's a wire brush down there that drives the turntable. That wire brush basically just gets right up against the expanded metal on the side of the turntable and spins it. The beauty of that is, suppose for a minute you got an engine block in here, and the block falls over and jams up the system. If you had gears, those gears would self-destruct in that situation, but a wire brush just continues to spin. And we do carry replacement wire brushes for the day when you wear that thing out. The oil skimmer for the 500 HWC is one of the most simplistic things of beauty on this cabinet. I want to start by pointing out that there are elongated holes right here so that you can raise and lower the skimmer disc. This is a stainless steel disc that rotates through the greasy water down below. Grease attaches itself to the disc by way of surface tension, and then this beautiful little device slides right over it like that. The grease comes down the wheel, falls down onto the skimmer, and then runs off into your own bucket. All right, guys, I'm going to do right now what you should never do. I have filled the cabinet up with just water, and I'm going to hold in the little safety switch right here as though the door was closed, just so you can see what the inside of the washer looks like while it's operating. Here we go. It's going to make a big mess. Okay, time to do a demonstration. We've got ourselves a really nasty transmission tail housing, an aluminum tail housing here in the washer. The stuff we're going to use is Pro Clean. We offer and sell this stuff. It works really well. And obviously don't want to use anything flammable in this washer. All right, here we go. Time to add some Pro Clean. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've put the Pro Clean in it. I've got the transmission tail shaft in the washer. I'm going to go ahead and crank the heat all the way up, and now I'll go ahead and start the washer. I want you guys to remember something that's pretty important. When this thing starts operating, it's drawing an awful lot of solution, cleaning solution, down in the base up into the washer. That means that your water level naturally falls quite a good bit. This is important that you keep an eye on your water level in this machine, because if you let it get too low over time, here in a bit this thing's going to be steaming, and there's going to be steam coming out of it where we're obviously losing water. It's important you keep an eye on that, because if you let your water level get too low, you'll start to hear that pump make a gurgling sound like it's struggling to pull in fluid and it's pulling in air. Obviously, that's a good way to damage a pump. So you really just want to make sure you're always keeping that thing good and topped off. You get the level as high as it can go, and listen for that gurgling sound. If you hear that gurgling, you better do something. You can already see that it's pulling grease out of the water, so that's cool. We'll check back here in a bit and see how it's going. One of the other important things I want you to know about this washer is it will turn itself off every once in a while. The motor actually has a temperature cutoff on it, so if you hear the motor quit turning and take a 2-3 minute break, don't think anything of it. Okay, full disclosure, I forgot that you're not supposed to add the Pro Clean to the water until the water's hot. If you don't do that for the first time, it foams up on you really bad and makes a mess. So, no big deal. Learn from my mistakes. I got a little mess to clean up, and then we'll run the washer and get this thing nice and clean and the tail shaft in there, and I'll show you what we got. Okay, the cabinet has been running for a little while. Let's go ahead and shut it off. Open the handle and just see what we've got inside. Lots of steam. That's good. We can see that our water is running from the door like it should, and the transmission really looks quite good. Let me take my finger here, which is clean, and just kind of run it right down over everything. Look at that, nice and clean. Give it a little spin. Looks nice and clean. That's, I'm not sure what that is, but it's not coming off on my finger. It's not coming off really in my nail. It's I don't know, some sort of discoloration in the aluminum, but it's not grease. There you go. We've cleaned up our tail housing. Okay guys, there you go. That has been a demonstration of our new 500 HWC heated wash cabinet. Of course, I'm going to put a link down below in the description where you can find these things on our website. If you do have questions about this washer, feel free to post them down below in the comments. It's very common that I will answer questions in the comments. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any future content on this YouTube channel, I would ask that you please click subscribe. If you want, follow along on my 67 Nova build. And if you don't mind, as a favor to me, please click that thumbs up down below. Let YouTube know this is good content. I hope everybody enjoyed this video and learned something today. I appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate your time, very much so. That's the most important thing to everybody is your time. Thank you for your time. You guys have a great one. Take care.